A freighter carrying a crew of 29 disappeared on Lake Superior during a severe storm last night, and so far, no survivors have been found. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald sank into the cold, unforgiving depths of Lake Superior under mysterious conditions in 1975, leaving behind unanswered questions and 29 missing crew members. For over 4 decades, their bodies have never been recovered, and the exact cause of the ship's tragic end remains one of the Great Lakes' most haunting mysteries. Now, after 46 long years, something has finally surfaced that could bring closure to one of the greatest maritime mysteries in history. Could the remains of the crew at last be found? Keep watching to discover what has been unearthed from the depths of Lake Superior. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald was a massive lake freighter first ordered in 1957 and built by the Great Lakes Engineering Works. Initially powered by a coal-fired steam turbine, it was later converted to oil fuel in a 1972 refit. The Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Company of Milwaukee funded its construction, viewing the vessel as a key investment in the region's booming iron and minerals industries. Designed with a specific goal in mind, the Fitzgerald was built to be just under the maximum allowable length for passage through the St. Lawrence Seaway. As a result, it had a hull that stretched 729 feet and a deadweight capacity of 26,000 long tons, making it the longest ship on the Great Lakes when launched in 1958. Because of this impressive size, it earned the nickname, Queen of the Lakes, a title it held until September 1959 when the 730-foot SS Murray Bay took over. The Fitzgerald was launched on June 7, 1958, and embarked on what was hoped to be a long and prosperous career transporting taconite iron ore across the Great Lakes, a vital task in the region's industrial supply chain. To better understand the story of the SS Edmund Fitzgerald, it is essential to know a bit about its environment, the Great Lakes. These freshwater lakes, also called the Laurentian Great Lakes, straddle the US-Canada border and span states like Wisconsin, Michigan, Ohio, and New York. Minnesota is one of the states bordering the Great Lakes, which include Lake Superior, Michigan, Huron, Erie, and Ontario. Together, these 5 lakes form the world's largest group of freshwater lakes by area, remarkably holding about 21% of the world's surface freshwater. Despite being lakes, they can feel more like seas due to their immense size and the hazardous conditions they present. Weather on the Great Lakes can change quickly, sometimes without warning, with deep, closely spaced waves creating perilous conditions for ships. Additionally, the lakes are prone to seiches, or standing waves that oscillate in the water, which can destabilize vessels, especially in shallower areas near docks. Winter intensifies these challenges, with ice forming over large lake areas, particularly where pack ice accumulates, posing significant navigation threats. All of these factors combine to make the Great Lakes an exceptionally challenging environment for vessels like the Edmund Fitzgerald, even with modern technology and skilled crews. Late fall, when the Fitzgerald departed, is especially dangerous due to the relatively warm lake surface. When cold Arctic air from Canada sweeps over, it collides with the warmer lake air, creating intense low-pressure systems and fierce winds that agitate the lake, forming chaotic, jagged waves and, sometimes, rogue waves. A rogue wave, at least twice the size of surrounding waves, is formed by currents and winds merging multiple waves into one powerful surge. The force these waves exert can surpass what even the sturdiest freighters can withstand. While we understand their formation, predicting rogue waves is still beyond our capabilities. They often appear without warning in unexpected locations, sometimes in sets of 3 called the Three Sisters. The intense winds driving these deadly waves have earned the nickname, the Witch of November, among sailors. The odds were stacked against the SS Edmund Fitzgerald from the start. The SS Edmund Fitzgerald left Superior, Wisconsin, on the afternoon of November 9, 1975, under Captain Ernest M. Murley's command. Carrying 26,116 long tons of taconite ore pellets bound for Zug Island near Detroit. Shortly after departure, the Fitzgerald reached a speed of about 16 miles per hour and later joined another freighter, the Arthur M. Anderson, captained by Jesse B. Cooper. While both ships headed down Lake Superior, the weather forecast, typical for November, predicted a storm passing south of Lake Superior by the next morning. However, Captain Dudley Peet of the Wilfred Sykes anticipated a more severe storm directly crossing Lake Superior. Seeking shelter, Peet hugged the lake's northern shore, while the Fitzgerald and Anderson continued along the regular route. By evening, the National Weather Service upgraded its forecast, issuing gale warnings for the entire lake. By 1 a.m. on November 10, the Fitzgerald encountered strong winds and 10-foot waves, prompting Captain Murley to reduce speed due to worsening conditions. In a conversation with Captain Pete, Murley admitted he was struggling to keep pace. Early that morning, the Weather Service escalated its warnings to predict storm-force winds. As the storm intensified, the Fitzgerald, initially trailing the Anderson, pulled ahead. By afternoon, conditions worsened significantly, with winds exceeding 50 knots and visibility dropping due to heavy snow. Around 3:30 p.m., Murley radioed the Anderson, reporting that the Fitzgerald was taking on water, had lost some equipment, and was listing. Murley decided to slow down, allowing the Anderson to catch up and provide radar guidance, as the Fitzgerald's radar had failed. The Anderson's crew tracked the Fitzgerald, guiding it toward Whitefish Bay, a safer area, but then, the navigation lights and radio. The beacon at Whitefish Point was out, compounding the difficulties for the Fitzgerald. By late afternoon, the storm had intensified even further, with winds reaching over 50 knots and waves towering up to 25 feet. The Anderson, which was also enduring the brutal conditions, faced gusts of up to 75 knots and rogue waves as high as 35 feet. Despite the worsening weather, Captain Murley's last radio message at 7:10 p.m. assured the Anderson that they were holding their own. However, just 10 minutes later, the Anderson lost both radio contact and radar detection of the Fitzgerald. The ship had vanished without sending a distress signal. The tragic sinking underscored not only the dangers posed by the lake but also the resilience of the human spirit when facing nature's greatest challenges. Lake Superior's deep, cold waters, especially in its depths where temperatures can drop close to freezing, contribute to these challenges. Because of its vast size, the lake takes a long time to warm up, even in summer, and far below, in areas untouched by sunlight, the water remains cold year-round. These extreme conditions are hazardous, leading to hypothermia for anyone exposed too long. The lake's depth and the powerful storms make recovery missions exceedingly difficult. When the wreck of the Fitzgerald was eventually located, it was thanks to sonar technology. However, the intense cold and depth made it challenging to recover any bodies or conduct further investigations. The lake's dark, icy waters are perilous for divers, and even advanced underwater vehicles struggle with the immense pressure at such depths. Adding to these challenges, the lake's sheer size and depth mean it takes nearly 200 years for all the water within it to cycle fully. This slow turnover affects how nutrients and pollutants spread, often isolating the deeper waters from surface conditions. The cold, dense water at the bottom stays distinct from the warmer surface layer, creating layers that don't easily mix. This separation of the deep waters hints at mysteries hidden in the lake's murky depths, potentially including unknown features and creatures. Lake Superior has also been historically significant as a travel route for centuries. Native Americans were the first to navigate its waters, followed by European explorers, and later it became a bustling route for commercial shipping. Experts speculate that the violent sinking of the Fitzgerald may have been worsened by the powerful storm may have trapped the crew inside the Fitzgerald, with evidence suggesting the ship's bow was deeply buried in the lakebed, indicating a hard impact likely blocking any escape routes. Another theory is that the crew, weakened by the freezing cold, was swept away by the strong currents, their bodies sinking to the bottom, possibly entangled in the wreckage. The currents in some areas of the lake can reach up to 3 knots, making it highly probable that the crew had little chance of escape and were lost forever in the vast depths. Even with today's advanced technology, exploring the deepest parts remains extremely challenging, as layers of silt and debris obscure visibility, making recovery nearly impossible. And the Fitzgerald is only one of many ships that have met a tragic fate in the perilous waters of the Great Lakes, each wreck bearing its own somber tale. This shipwreck is a haunting reminder of the lake's unforgiving and deadly nature, with the cold, dark waters holding tightly to their secrets and the souls lost to them. Lake Superior's reputation for being treacherous is well-deserved, as its depths continue to evoke both awe and sadness. The tragedy of the Fitzgerald spurred crucial changes in shipping regulations and safety. The disaster led to investigations and studies focused on understanding what went wrong and how to prevent future incidents, shaping modern maritime safety practices. On the evening of November 10, 1975, after the Fitzgerald disappeared from radar, Captain Cooper of the Arthur M. Anderson quickly alerted the U.S. Coast Guard, USCG, at Sault Ste. Marie. His first attempt to reach them was at 7:39 p.m. on the designated distress channel. However, due to communication issues, including storm-damaged antennas, the USCG requested Cooper switch to Channel 12, though he continued to struggle with maintaining contact. Captain Cooper of the was unable to effectively communicate with the U.S. Coast Guard, USCG, until 7:54 p.m., when he was unexpectedly asked to look out for a missing small boat. Concerned about the Cooper persisted and reported the freighter missing at 9:03 p.m. With limited rescue vessels able to respond quickly, the USCG requested that the turn back to aid in the search for survivors around 9 p.m. Other freighters anchored near Whitefish Bay, including the F, joined the search, though that was hindered by severe weather. The USCG also dispatched the buoy tender, but it took hours to launch and a day to reach the search area. A search aircraft from Traverse City, Michigan, arrived around 10:53 p.m., and a helicopter joined the effort at 1 a.m. on November 11. Additionally, Canadian Coast Guard aircraft joined, while the Ontario Provincial Police patrolled Lake Superior's shoreline. Although debris, lifeboats, and rafts were found, none of the 29 crew members of the primarily from Ohio and Wisconsin and aged between 20 and 63 were ever recovered. The wreck was first located on November 14, 1975, by a U.S. Navy Lockheed P-3 Orion, piloted by Lieutenant George Connor. This aircraft, typically used to detect magnetic anomalies, identified the ship's wreckage approximately 15 miles west of Deadman's Cove in Ontario, near the international boundary in Canadian waters, resting at a depth of 530 feet. This discovery served as a haunting reminder of the ship's tragic final voyage. From November 14 to 16, the U.S. Coast Guard side-scan sonar survey revealed two large objects close together on the lakebed, confirming they had broken apart. In May 1976, the U.S. Navy deployed its unmanned submersible, CURV-3, to survey the wreckage, finding the ship in two large sections, the bow standing upright in the mud and the stern capsized at a 50-degree angle. Between these sections lay a spread of taconite pellets from the ship's cargo, along with debris like hatch covers and hull plating. In 1980, Marine explorer Jean-Michel Cousteau, son of Jacques Cousteau, conducted the first manned submersible dive to the wreck. Although no definitive conclusions were drawn, Cousteau's team speculated the ship might have broken apart on the surface. Yet, questions lingered. What if this wasn't just another shipwreck? Could something more dramatic have caused the ship's sudden disappearance? In 1989, a significant expedition organized by the Michigan Sea Grant Program aimed to capture 3D footage of the wreck for museums and documentaries. Equipped with a mini-rover ROV and stereoscopic cameras, the team recorded hours of video used by both the Great Lakes Shipwreck Historical Society and the National Geographic Society. Despite extensive analysis, experts could not pinpoint the cause of the sinking. On July 4, 1995, Canadian Dr. Joseph McInnes led an expedition to further explore the wreck of the renowned deep-sea explorer. McInnes and his team used the latest sonar technology and underwater vehicles to track down the ship, finally locating it after days of dedicated searching. That was discovered resting approximately 530 feet underwater, around 17 miles northwest of Whitefish Bay, Michigan. During the exploration, the team made an unexpected discovery. The bodies of the crew were remarkably well preserved by the cold, deep waters. Some crew members were still in their uniforms, seated in the dining area, lying in bunks, or found on the deck. The freezing temperatures and low oxygen levels had slowed the process of decay, creating a haunting yet respectful preservation. This brought a mix of emotions, sadness, respect, and some closure for the families who had spent 20 years searching for answers. Carefully documenting everything, the explorers took great care to avoid disturbing the remains, honoring both the crew and their grieving families. The recovery of the bodies, however, reopened old questions regarding the ship's tragic sinking. Investigators revisited theories about structural failure and the possibility of a massive wave overwhelming the vessel. News of the discovery sparked renewed public interest, leading to a fresh wave of documentaries, books, and articles exploring the disaster from new angles. Media coverage reached newspapers, magazines, and television stations across the country, allowing families to finally see the place where their loved ones rested, bringing a sense of peace and closure. The discovery also reignited awareness of the risks sailors take when navigating the Great Lakes and highlighted the importance of safety and responsibility within the shipping industry. Over time, the story of the grew into a powerful symbol of remembrance, not just a tale of tragedy but a lasting tribute to the sailors who lost their lives. It became woven into popular culture, inspiring books, documentaries, and films. The cold waters of Lake Superior, which slow down the decay of anything that sinks, meant that any remains on the lake bed were unlikely to ever surface. Unlike warmer waters, where gas formation causes bodies to rise, the icy depths of Superior Way remains down, preserving them as silent witnesses to the lake's power. The storm that sank the with waves up to 35 feet was so powerful that any remains that might have floated were likely pulled back down, disappearing forever. In recent years, efforts to remember and honor those lost in the tragedy have continued, ensuring that the legacy of the crew of the remains are part of Great Lakes maritime history. To honor the and its crew, a monument stands in Whitefish Bay, Michigan, where an annual ceremony remembers the lost sailors. The event includes laying wreaths and observing a moment of silence. The story of the has also been immortalized in cultural works, notably in Gordon Lightfoot's song, The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald, a Canadian folk classic that recounts the sorrowful tale of the crew and their families. Numerous books and documentaries have also explored the tragedy, emphasizing the power and danger of the Great Lakes. The mystery surrounding the sinking, with no bodies ever found, has made the event a lasting tragedy cloaked in uncertainty, as Lake Superior's deep waters keep their secrets. The sinking remains one of the Great Lakes' greatest mysteries. While everyone agrees that extreme weather played a crucial role, the exact cause is still debated. In 2005, NOAA and the National Weather Service ran a computer simulation of the storm on November 10, revealing high-speed winds over Lake Superior, one area reaching over 49 miles per hour, another over 46 miles per hour. By 7 p.m., wave heights reached an average of 19 feet, with some waves up to 46 feet, creating conditions that could have caused the to roll dangerously. With recorded wind speeds near 70 miles per hour and gusts up to 86 miles per hour, such conditions could easily have overwhelmed the vessel. Another theory involves the Three Sisters rogue wave phenomenon, which is known to occur on Lake Superior. These rogue waves are larger than typical waves and come in sets of three. The first wave floods the deck, the second adds more water, and the third overwhelms it completely. Captain Cooper of the reported facing two 35-foot waves that damaged parts of his ship, suggesting that a third wave could have struck the just before it sank. The power of these waves could have overwhelmed the vessel, causing it to break apart or take on water faster than it could handle. A third hypothesis considers cargo hold flooding as a potential cause. The U.S. Coast Guard Marine Casualty Report suggests that water may have entered through the cargo holds, creating a dangerous imbalance. These prevailing theories highlight the complex nature of the tragedy, but the exact details of the final moments remain shrouded in the depths of Lake Superior. In 1977, it was suggested that ineffective hatch closures may have allowed water to gradually flood the hold of the video footage from the wreck shows that most hatch clamps were intact, but the few that were damaged might not have been properly secured. This gradual flooding could have led to a loss of buoyancy, ultimately causing a sudden and catastrophic plunge to the bottom of Lake Superior. Another hypothesis, supported by the Lake Carriers Association, posits that the ran aground on an uncharted shoal northwest of Caribou Island. A Canadian hydrographic survey revealed that the shoal extended farther east than previously charted, and it's believed that the may have unknowingly struck it. Proponents of this theory argue that the damage to the fence rail reported by Captain Murley could only have been caused by such an impact. However, subsequent searches of the area found no evidence of a recent grounding. Some believe that this hull may have been structurally compromised. This theory gained traction after reports from former crew members noted that the ship bent and sprang during storms. The hull was constructed using welded joints, which are less flexible than riveted joints in rough seas. Experts suggest that the ship's design, which maximized its length to fit through the St. Lawrence Seaway, made it more susceptible to stress fractures in the severe conditions it encountered. This could have led to the ship breaking apart on the surface, similar to other ore carriers like the and which both split in two during storms. The U.S. Coast Guard also considered the possibility of topside damage. It is believed that something may have broken loose from the ship's deck, damaging the vents and fence rail, which could have led to flooding in the ballast tanks and caused the ship to list. Maritime historian Mark Thompson speculated that Captain Murley might not have detected the full extent of the damage from the pilot house, allowing water to enter the cargo hold unchecked, ultimately sinking the ship. Several contributing factors could have led to the wreck. The set out based on a National Weather Service forecast that predicted the storm would pass just south of Lake Superior. However, Captain Pettifer believed otherwise. After tracking the storm system, he concluded it would cross over eastern Lake Superior and chose a safer route that provided more protection. In contrast, the AN followed the standard route of the Lake Carriers Association, leading them into the heart of the storm. A 2005 NOAA simulation later confirmed that it was in the worst possible location when the storm hit, with wind speeds exceeding 70 miles per hour. The NTSB also noted that the NWS failed to accurately predict wave heights on November 10, further compounding the tragedy. They may have faced significant risks due to outdated navigational charts. The U.S. Coast Guard discovered that Canadian navigational charts from 1916 and 1991, which were relied upon in 1975, were inaccurate. They did not correctly show the position of the 6-fathom shoal, a dangerous underwater hazard. After the sinking, a Canadian Hydrographic Service survey revealed that the shoal extended about a mile farther east than indicated on the charts, suggesting that the ship may have sailed too close to this hidden danger. One major design flaw was the absence of watertight bulkheads in the cargo hold. Without these divisions, water could flood the entire hold, quickly destabilizing the vessel. Maritime expert Frederick Stonehouse noted that if the ship had watertight bulkheads, it might have survived long enough to reach Whitefish Bay or allowed the crew to abandon ship safely. The NTSB investigation concluded that Great Lakes freighters should be required to have watertight bulkheads, but regulatory changes were delayed due to industry pressure. Additionally, they lacked important instruments, such as a fathometer, which could have helped measure water depth. Without it, the crew had to rely on a hand line, an outdated method that was impractical in stormy conditions. This lack of equipment made the ship overly reliant on them for navigation. Furthermore, there was no system on board to monitor water levels in the cargo hold, which could have alerted the crew to flooding before it became critical. Changes to the S-load line over the years also contributed to the sinking. The U.S. Coast Guard approved several increases in the load line, reducing the ship's freeboard, the height between the waterline and the deck. During the storm, with waves reaching 35 feet, the deck was only 11.5 feet above the water, increasing the likelihood of waves washing over it. Concerns about the ship's structural integrity, particularly regarding its keel welds, emerged after these load line increases, as the ship's increased weight may have compromised its stability in extreme conditions. Maintenance issues also played a role in the tragedy. Some crew members testified that the ship's hull was held together by patching plates and that necessary repairs had been delayed. The NTSB found that grounding incidents during previous voyages may have caused structural damage that went undetected or unrepaired in time. Captain Murley, known for braving harsh weather, reportedly felt uneasy about the ship's performance, even describing it as a wiggling thing during storms. The combination of maintenance problems and complacency likely contributed to the final disaster. Some theories suggest that the ship may have broken apart due to the storm's massive waves. Former crew members reported that the ship bent and flexed during heavy seas, potentially weakening its structure over time. Additionally, the use of welded joints instead of more flexible riveted ones may have made the hull more susceptible to stress fractures. This theory posits that the ship could have broken apart on the surface before it sank. Another hypothesis suggests that the topside damage reported by Captain Murley at 3:30 p.m. on November 10 could have been more severe than initially believed. A heavy object, such as a log, may have damaged the vents and fence rail, allowing water to flood the ballast tanks. This would explain why the ship began listing and may have contributed to the eventual flooding of the cargo hold. That's it for this video. If you want to watch more amazing content like this, check out some of our other videos. Bye.